Hey, this is Wileen Benson, and you are on the Daily Gratitude Call, where we start every day in gratitude. Gratitude is the highest energy state that we can be in. It creates a frequency of positive vibration that attracts positive experiences into our lives. Hey, everybody, this is Wileen Benson. This is our Daily Gratitude Call. Thank you all for joining our call live. Also, those who are listening to the podcast, want to just invite you to participate fully instead of this being a podcast that you can just listen and go work out or something, which will work if that's the only thing that you can do. But if there's any way that you can set everything aside for this 30 minutes, be here 100% and participate, you're going to get amazing things out of it. I really appreciate those who are on the call live this morning. I looked over kind of the list that I'd made from the rounds of gratitude that we do before the call starts. That's where what I draw upon to be able to come up with a subject for us to focus on today is based on what is shared before we start the recording. And it just kind of looked like everything was all over the place and nothing was really popping out as a theme for today. And so I asked one of our participants what she needed support in. And based on what she shared and another comment, we are going to be focusing on drawing upon gratitude for drawing upon God's storehouse of resources. And I'm super excited to go into this meditation because a lot of times we don't draw upon those resources. They're there. We know God created this abundant earth, for us to have all these things, and people that we get to interact with and everything. And we just kind of keep those in storage. And we never draw upon them. And I think that's going to be a really fun focus for us today to see what comes up. I'm going to set the timer for 90 seconds. We're going to do a private silent meditation on gratitude for drawing upon God's storehouse of resources. And we'll see what comes up. Begin. All right, that is our minute and a half. I feel like I just opened a can of worms and they're just wriggling around, and I'm going to have to spend a little bit more time on this. So I'm excited to see what I get from this call. The very first thing that came to me was I'm not worthy. And after all the years of work and really knowing who I am and how important it is for my purpose to be fulfilled and everything, it just really surprised me that came up. That was the very first thing that came to me. I'm not worthy. I don't know how to use God's resources if I did withdraw them. And I definitely know it's there, yet I think I have to have my own resources that before I go to that savings account of all the ease of God's resources, that for some reason I have to make sure that I've completely depleted all of my resources. Like that's the only time that I'm worthy to ask for something from God, is if there's absolutely nothing left, if I'm totally empty in my emotional and financial and whatever spiritual bank account. And a couple of other things is that came up, more limiting beliefs. I'm not sure what's mine, what of God's resources is mine. And I mean, I teach that everything that God has to offer is ours. We're an heir, as Christ is an heir to everything that God has. So why do I think that some of it's mine and some of it's Kathy's and some of it's Michael's and some of it's Tammy's? And what if I'm taking from theirs? And that's so crazy, because I know that God's resources are limitless. They're infinite, and they constantly renew themselves. So, I mean, this has just been like, is it being greedy if I'm using God's resources for my purposes? Like, lots of crazy things that I speak and I talk all the time. I teach to other people, but obviously there's still some things underneath, inside of me. Who else has something they'd like to share?
The one thought that came to me was that when I give my all, God holds nothing back.
I love that. Who else?
The first thing that came to me was camping. We go up in this beautiful place, and you just kind of stop somewhere and look for resources. Look for some wood, look for some rocks to build a fire pit, look for some trees to hang your hammock, or a place to pitch your tent, or you kind of claim a little space there, and then there are resources to help you survive.
Thank you. Wow, great analogy. I do that all the time. Thank you. Who else?
Hi, Wileen. I'd just like to share the people we have around us are resources. Some people are around for a reason, and some people are just around for the season. So it shows that some people are in your life forever, and we have some people that are just here for just a short time period in your life. So yeah, and then they're just here for a reason, and then we will have someone else in our life hopefully after that.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. We've kind of been talking a little bit about that within our family, that there are some people who it's like you look back, and in the beginning when we first invited these people into our lives, it was like the perfect match. They fit so perfectly in our family. And then things changed, and it's like, how could that change? But you're right. There are some people who come into our life and it's perfect, and we learn the lessons that we need to learn, and we, get to a certain point, and then our paths diverge. And if you think about it, it's like, how can that be? It's such a perfect fit. But there are some people who are just here for a season. Thank you. Who else?
Okay, I've been thinking of sharing. It reminded me of the, well, first of all, the first thing I thought of are the resources that God's given us. Like, He's given us so many, but the basic simple ones, for me, are temple, church, people, service opportunities. Those resources allow me to, they're my foundation. But then I thought of drawing upon the powers of heaven and how that requires faith. just faith. And Leahona worked by faith. And that was a resource. So our faith is a resource. And then I thought of the action word, or faith is an action word, and that we seek, and then we'll see, and then we act on those resources. And I thought of the man who was the flood that came, and the man that was having to, go to higher ground. And each time there was a resource to save him came around and offered to help. He didn't take it. He's like, oh no, God will save me. And so he, when we're in trouble or when we are seeking or whatever, heavenly, God sends us resources. And so they're all around us. We just have to seek, we have to see, we have to use our faith and take action and just move.
And receive it. It sounds like like what you're saying is we don't even sometimes have to go. I mean, maybe we're praying for a resource. So maybe that's going to the bank to withdraw, or to the storehouse, God's storehouse to withdraw, is maybe asking. But then, when the delivery man brings you your bag of resources, to say, oh, thank you. I asked for this and I received it. I'm receiving it. Instead of ignoring it and thinking, oh, that's not it. Thank you. Any last thoughts before we shift over to our permission process?
Well, this is Michael. I could say a few things.
Okay, go ahead.
I think I'm repeating what other people said, but I said, God has the alms in his hand to help us. And if we don't ask him, we don't receive those storehouse of resources that he has for us. And he is willing to help us, but all we need is to ask and be willing to receive gratefully the things, that he would give us. But I was also looking at overcoming limiting beliefs that before we can take them, because the limiting beliefs will keep us from receiving his offering. And I noticed that several times in the scriptures, what did people do to receive his grace, to receive his healing power, to receive his light? And it said, the apostles asked why, what did she do? And he asked, she believed. He was willing to receive. And the last thing I had written down is God sends us to help others or another, using the resources he gave us to share with another. So we become his messenger, or we become the resource that he has for another. And how often do you get books or go to a lecture and somebody says something that clicks with you and answers your question or lifts you or guides you in a certain direction? So we are, in many ways, our abilities will help another, be a resource for them.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Lots of really good wisdom there. First of all, I just want to make a comment on, we have to ask. And, the counterfeit of that might be that, God's going to withhold it unless it's like, say please. But it's not that way. God is all about agency, and he would never push anything upon us. He would never throw something at us or, drop something in our lap if we haven't asked for it, because it's like, I'm not sure if, I'm going to wait until they ask for it. I'm going to wait until they're ready to receive it, because I don't want to take away their agency to, if they choose to, if they'd rather struggle and it's not time for them to have it easy, then who am I to take away that opportunity if that's what they want to do? So, it's all about agency. Asking is, waiting for us to ask is all about agency. The other thought that I had about what you shared, what people offered the alms that other people offered to receive from Christ, when he was on the earth, when he was healing people, he always asked, do you have the faith? Do you believe? So it's an equal trade. It's not just like going and withdrawing. We're also bringing to the table, I think it's even, Mary mentioned it also, that faith is the resource that we are trading for, that equal exchange. And I say equal, he always showers us well above what we can ever offer. But I'm seeing that it is equal exchange. It's not just like him showering me with blessings. There's something I have to bring to the table. And then I hadn't really considered the what you were talking about, like when I receive a resource, when I ask for a resource and I'm uplifted because of the resource, and I'm expanded, I'm magnified because of the resource that I receive, then it increases my capacity to serve. So I'm seeing it as that those resources that I draw upon are not mine. They're not, and it totally changes the idea of, taking from someone else. It's more, asking and receiving to increase my capacity to be a resource to other people, which feels really good. I think.
Eileen.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was when we first started this exercise, I thought to myself, gosh, I'm just not focused here. And then I had to bring myself in, and I just, for some reason, I think that focus with all of this is really important, because at first I was not focused, and then I had to bring it into focus. So bring into focus what we're asking for.
Mm-hmm.
And to focus on that instead of putting it out there, but then going off and doing something else. I mean, it needs to be our focus, I guess. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, we know that that's part of like the laws of attraction. There has to be intense focus with emotion, like no distractions, to be able to access some of God's resources, some of the things that he would offer us. We are getting to the end of our time. I know we could continue talking about this. It's a great topic. I encourage you to go to our Facebook group, Breakthrough with Gratitude, and write any thoughts that you have there. I'm going to be, whatever I don't get accomplished with my breakthrough on the limiting beliefs that came up for me, I'm going to be continuing that after the call if I don't get it done here. And so I'll post my new beliefs and my experience on the Facebook group. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath. Let's just get into this space of knowing that there are a multitude of resources available to us. They're just sitting in God's storehouse waiting for us to ask. And I love this idea of withdrawing, drawing upon God's resources to magnify ourselves so that we can then become a storehouse of resources for other people. For some people, it is a gift for them to be able to go to God and ask for those resources. For other people, it's more comfortable to go to other people to draw upon resources. And so we can be a resource, an earthly resource that maybe some people, it's easier for them to draw upon. And just love this idea of having infinite resources to draw upon from God's storehouse so that we don't become depleted, so that we are always full, constantly being filled. Take another deep breath. And the first question I have is, what is the resource that you need right now? What is the resource that you can go to God and draw upon that storehouse of resources? What is the resource that you would ask for? And just send that request to the source of all resources, our Heavenly Father, and just ask. And as you're getting clear with what that resource is and formulating that question to send to God to ask for that resource, also being aware of what that resource is going to be used for. How does this resource magnify you and qualify you to be a resource to others? And also recognizing what this resource would do for you. You personally, you as a righteous and worthy human being, and also the role that you play within your family, what it would do for that piece of you, and also you as a resource to others. What good can this resource do? Why is it important to you? And why is it important to God that you have this resource? And what is the limiting belief that's coming up for you about receiving this resource? And as you're getting clear with that limiting belief, also know that there is a cost associated with every limiting belief. There's an outcome. Every limiting belief attracts to you the outcome that it is dictating. The words are dictating. So just be aware of the outcome that you're creating if you hold on to this limiting belief. And if you can see the cost of this limiting belief and it's not what you want, you have the opportunity right now to give yourself permission to choose something different. So if you're ready to give yourself permission to choose something different, say yes.
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 Awesome.
Yes.
So what are your new beliefs? What are 2 or 3 new beliefs that will take the place of that old limiting belief, will allow you to freely and easily ask and receive for this resource, and also to use it in a way that is going to benefit you, benefit your family, benefit others around you, because it's magnifying you? What are the new beliefs that will serve you to receive this resource? And a final question: what is the one most important thing that you can do today to implement these new beliefs, to prove the truth of them by putting action behind the words, behind the words that you've written in these new beliefs? What is the one most important thing that you could do today? What's your inspired shortcut for these new beliefs to be real, tangible, that there's evidence of the truth of them? And we are out of time, so I won't be asking for any shares. I do want to encourage you again to go to the Facebook group, Breakthrough with Gratitude, and write your experience there. I feel like this has been a really powerful call. If there's anyone that you know who struggles with asking for resources, if they feel like they have to depend on themselves, and you feel inspired, I encourage you that when this call is put up, to send it to them. This is one of those that can change hearts, can change minds, change perspective, help people see things from a totally different perspective, and give them a resource to be able to have an easier, happier life. So I encourage you to share that. I do also want to offer, if there's anyone who is struggling in this area, and would like to see things from a different perspective, to have a conversation with me. This, one of the gifts that I've been given, one of the resources that I've been given, is the ability, when a limiting belief comes up for me, that I recognize it immediately and I change it. And I move forward with a completely different perspective and choose to have a happy and an easy life. And I also feel like I have a gift of being able to see that for others. The one piece, the one block that if we could just change the perspective on that one thing, that it just opens the doors to create freedom and liberation for you to move forward as quickly as possible. And you can have a conversation with me about that just by going to askwylene.com, and that'll take you directly to my calendar, and you can schedule a 15-minute call. It's free, and it's open to anyone that is listening to my voice. Just go to askwylene.com and it'll take you right to my calendar to schedule that 15-minute call. Thank you all for being on the call today. Super awesome call. Thank you for everything that has been shared. And we'll look forward to being back together tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Mountain Time right here. Thank you. Hey, thanks so much for listening. And I encourage you to tune in every day to the Daily Gratitude Call. And the Daily Gratitude Call happens live every weekday morning. I'd love to have you join. So to find out how to join live, go to my website, wylenebenson.com. Thanks for tuning in.